Welcome students. In this lecture we will study the excretory system present in the leech, that is Hirudinaria granulosa. This excretory system in the leeches consists of 17 pairs of small coiled tubes called as nephridia, and these are arranged segmentally, one pair in each segment of the leech body from 6th segment to the 22nd segment. Then these nephridia are of two types. First types are testicular nephridia and second are pre-testicular nephridia. We will see these two excretory structures. First, testicular nephridia. The posterior 11 pairs of these nephridia, they are called as testicular nephridia. They are present one pair in each segment from 12th segment to the 22nd segment. Okay. These are called as testicular nephridia because the presence of a pair of testis sacs in each of these segments from 12th to the 22nd segment. Then a typical testicular nephridium, it is a horseshoe shaped structure. It is traversed by a complicated system of canals and it consists of 6 parts. These 6 parts are: number 1, main lobe, then second, vesicle and vesicle duct, third, apical lobe, fourth, inner lobe, fifth, initial lobe, and sixth, ciliated organ. We will see these 6 parts one by one. First is main lobe. The main lobe, it forms a horseshoe proper and it lies in a ventrolateral position. It is present between two adjacent cecae of the crop. It forms the major part of nephridium and it consists of two unequal limbs. One limb is longer and anterior in the position and the other shorter and posterior. The cells of main lobe are big and polyhedral type. Then second, vesicle and the vesicle duct. A narrow vesicle duct, it arises from the inner ventral end of anterior limb, that is the main lobe. It runs posteriorly to open into a large bladder or terminal vesicle, which is ventrolaterally situated behind the rest of the nephridium. This vesicle, it is a large oval sac-like structure with a non-contractile thin wall, which is internally lined by a ciliated epithelial cells layer. A short and narrow excretory duct, it is lined with a non-ciliated epithelium present, which leads from vesicle to open to the exterior through a rounded aperture called as nephridiopore. Okay. Then second, third part, it is apical lobe. Inner free end of the posterior limb of main lobe, it is continued to form a stout structure called as apical lobe, which is present anterior-posteriorly beneath the crop structure. Its anterior end is slightly swollen and bent on itself like the handle of a walking stick. Its cells are big and traversed by regular intracellular canals. Then next structure of these testicular nephridia are the inner lobes. These inner lobes are extending between the anterior and posterior limbs of main lobe, which is incurrent lobe, and it is short, also called as inner lobe. It runs forward along the outer side of apical lobe for about half of its length. Then next structure, it is initial lobe. Initial lobe is a long, narrow, transparent and a cord-like structure. It is formed of a single row of elongated tubular cells. These are closely coiled around the apical lobe. Okay. Its posterior end joins the main lobe, while its anterior end runs inward and reaches over the testis sac of its own side, and it's blindly close. It ends blindly close to the perinephrostomial ampulla. The intracellular canal of initial lobe gives many diverticula in each cell. And the last structure is ciliated organ. Inside perinephrostomial ampulla, there is a peculiar structure called as ciliated organ. It is suspended from inner walls of the ampulla by 4 to 5 strands. These are also called as trabecula. It corresponds to the funnel or nephrostome of a typical annelid nephridium, and it is greatly modified and a compound structure. Okay. These are the testicular nephridia. Then we will see second type of nephridia. These are pretesticular nephridia. The first 6 pairs of nephridia, they are termed as pretesticular nephridia, and their location is from 6th segment to 11th segment, which are without testis sacs, therefore called as pretesticular nephridia. Okay. These nephridia resembles testicular nephridia in all the respects as we had studied, that their exception is their initial lobes ends loosely in a general connective tissue on their side of ventral nerve cord. There are no testis sacs, perinephrostomial ampullae and ciliated organs in these segments. Okay, in this way these are the second types of nephridia, and these two types of nephridia constitute the excretory system in the leech.